This is Mrs. Murphy from Weber State, and today we're going to discuss a few items that will help you better design your HTML documents. We're going to talk about semantic elements, selectors, a couple different types of selectors, and then some CSS properties that might help you a little bit better do some layouts for your web pages. Now, when you're designing a web document, there's a couple of new tags in HTML5, and they'll help you create layouts for your document. Before HTML5, they used span or div tags that created different containers, as you can see on from the image, had different little areas for your web page. Now the problem is that div and span do not have any meaning. Div, it's just short for division, meaning any type of division on the page, and span is the same thing, only it's an inline tag. Most HTML tags do have meaning, such as the paragraph tag, table tag. Paragraph says there's going to be a paragraph there. They state what's going to be contained inside. Therefore, they are semantic elements, or tags that describe meaning. With HTML5, they've now added tons more tags, and these tags also describe meaning. They're usually used to create and design areas on the page with specific types of content. Now there's a lot of new tags, but I'm only going to discuss a few that I use in the example that I give you. So there's a header element now, and it's just header as shown on the previous page, and that usually is a place for the logo or the title of your site, introductory type of content. An article is an independent or self-contained content. It should make sense on its own. It should be able to read that article independently from the rest of the website. Nav is a place for your links, your navigation links specifically. You wouldn't really put external links in the nav, only links to pages within the same site. And then the footer contains information like author information or copyright or terms of use, stuff like that, the content for the site. As you style the page, there's different types of items you can style. As we've learned so far, you can use the selector to determine what on the page that contains those particular rules. But there's other types of selectors that can help you style other elements on the page. We've already used contextual selectors. That's when you use the name of the tag to determine which items are going to be styled, such as the H1 tag. It's this particular H1 tag is going to have a particular color and text shadow. An ID selector is when you have one container on that particular page that's unique to its name, such as the container we've used in some of the previous chapters examples. Since it uses the attribute ID, the name must be unique on the page, so we couldn't put another div tag with an ID of container on this same page. You'd have to use a different name. Now in the CSS, you're going to use the hashtag to denote that that's an ID. It's user-defined name, and that hashtag is what tells the browser that it is user-defined and to look for something that has an ID. A class selector allows you to create a certain type of styling that you might use throughout the page. For example, you might want to highlight certain topics with the page, so you can think of a name like highlight and make it a class, or whatever you want to name it really. And then you can use it several times whenever you wanted to highlight particular areas on the page. Now on the CSS, for a user-defined class, you're going to use the dot operator to show that it's user-defined and that you could use it multiple times on the page. Most elements in HTML are block elements. This means they automatically start a new line before the previous element. Now if all you used were block elements, it means all the elements on your page would just appear one right after another. Now you can position two elements side by side using the float property. Float pushes one item either to the left or to the right, whichever you specify, and it makes the item in the code below it display to its side. So if you float the item to the left, the item will be on the left, and the tag, whatever is below that particular item, will appear on the right. If you float something to the right, the item will be on the right-hand side, and whatever is below it will be pushed to the left side. Now float works with the size of the container. If no size is specified, then the contents span the entire width of the page and the containers don't appear to float. It's only when that width property is set that they'll float side by side. Now don't confuse the text align property with the float property. They kind of do different things. Text align only aligns text within the container. It's not going to put two block elements side by side. And float will position the container itself, not anything inside the container. So in this example, the container on the left has a float left, but a text align of right. Now there is an example file online. You'll have to go check that out, and there's a video demonstration that walks you through its use of float and clear in classes.